please.
Very good. Lord, thank you for this opportunity once again to come together to do the work of the Cherokee people. Thank you for the opportunity just to work. And thank you for helping us find the wisdom and the compassion to do the people's work and help us bring some peace to this troubled world. Amen.
Thank you. I would like approval of minutes for the June 15th, July the 13th. Much work. Have a motion? Here a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
We might do a roll call now, please.
Curtis Snell.
Here.
Chris Soap.
Here.
Bill England.
Here.
Bill John Baker.
Here.
Jack Baker.
Here.
Harley Buzzard.
Here.
Julia Coates. Here. Bradley Cobb.
Morning.
Joe Crittenden. Jody Fishinghawk. Here. Meredith Fraley. Here. Janelle Fulbright. Here. Don Garvin.
No.
Chuck Hoskin Jr.
Here.
Tina Gloria Jordan. Present. David Thornton. Kara Callan Watts. Honey. John Masters.
Go.
We do have a quorum.
Move on down to the reports. Management Resources, Angela Bruce.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, committee members. It's a pleasure to be before you today. You've got a copy of my report in your packet. If you have any questions, I'll address those.
Do we have any questions for Angela? Angela, the hunting, on our
Yes.
hunting and fishing codes that we mailed out,
Yes, sir.
you might bring us up to date on the,
I will tell you this, since we sent out, we had a flyer in the Phoenix, and then we did send out a supplemental postcard. We have received hundreds of telephone calls from constituents that I don't think it's that they don't understand what the card says. They're just wanting to confirm what they already know, that they all want to ask, is it okay if we hunt on land that is not considered tribal land? And we just have to reinforce that we believe that you can do that, but you do run the chance of being ticketed. Now, what we have also stated is that we are looking for a good test case, but in having said that, is if somebody does choose to hunt on land that is not owned by the tribe without having a hunting license, they are running the risk of being ticketed, and we would hope that it's somebody that has a good, clean record that is abiding by our hunting and fishing code, which basically mimics the state's laws. So they would need to be hunting the game that's in season. They need to be within the proper bag limits. They need to be following the law. And if they get a ticket while doing that and have a good, clean history of not having anything on their legal record, then that's a good test case to take to court. But I know that you do have some constituents that are asking or making the statement we don't have to have our hunting and fishing license. And if they are, what we are stating is that they are hunting and fishing on tribal land. For instance, if they kill a deer this fall, it is our stance that if they attach a copy of their blue card to that animal that they kill, and they are transporting it from the piece of tribal property to home, and they are stopped and get a ticket, that again, if they have got a good, clean record, that's a good test case, because a game warden can choose to ticket them because there's nothing that they can prove that that's where they killed it, but that's our legal stand.
yes, Julia.
I was at a meeting in Texas yesterday in which this question came up because they've all received the same, and they were wondering a couple of things actually. What would be the consequences for an individual who agreed to be the test case should the test case not go the way we would like it to go, was one of the questions. And the other question was, would there be a difference on that for someone who might come, a Cherokee citizen, but who might come from Texas or Kansas or Arkansas or some other state, right, to hunt in this area, still on their blue card, but somebody who's actually a resident of another state? They were concerned because the laws in Texas are extremely punitive for somebody that is not licensed, and so.
Okay. As long as they are hunting in Oklahoma and they have their blue card, I would say, and Diane Hammonds would have to correct me on this if I was speaking out of turn, but I would say they would be given the exact same privileges as tribal citizens who live in the 14-county area, because it's based on citizenship, not where you live. So that's what I would say to that. And then on someone that the test case went poorly for, if it was someone that was within the legal ramifications, I would say that if the test case went poorly, and I think I have heard our Attorney General state this, that we would pay those court costs. So it would be.
And court costs would be fundamentally the only consequence to the individual then that might, would there be another?
Without being a legal person, I would think that. So, but I can find out for sure and let you know.
This time,
I just wondered who's going to do the jail time if it goes adversely?
Well, I would say if the person was willing to take the chance, I guess they would.
What I'm afraid of is that come deer season here in Oklahoma, we're going to have a whole bunch of test cases. And what I'm hearing is we want the test case. So what are we going to do for all the poor fellas that relied that they were going to be the test case and we didn't choose them?
Well,
well, I was going to suggest maybe we could set up a photo op for Chief Smith to shoot Bambi. And we'll have Brady May there to give him the ticket. But if we're going to do a test case, let's do it. Let's don't keep saying we're hunting for the best test case. Let's get a test case, let's start it, and tell everybody else you better wait for the outcome.
we've had 2 test cases. One, the person they had a bad record, and so that one didn't go well. And then the other gentleman that was a test case had actually gone out and bought a state license because he got nervous and was worrying that he didn't want to get in trouble. So the 2 test cases that we have had, and I can't speak to details on them, but Diane did have 2 test cases earlier in the week, and I believe one was dismissed, and the other one still, the guy didn't show up for court the second time. So I can bring those issues up with administration. And
because the public has this perception that we're still hunting for the test case. So we've got several folks that are relying on what we're telling them, and they're hunting out of season. And I'm afraid...
But they shouldn't be hunting out of season.
They don't understand all the rules.
Well...
And I know, we've contributed to this misunderstanding.
But the rules have been clearly stated. So,
yeah. I mean, I'm even looking at the response that's been sent out by the wildlife people for the state of Oklahoma, which basically is saying we don't have a written agreement. We're going to enforce the code. I mean, we're giving mixed signals to our membership, and the state's giving them another signal, and nobody knows really what they're supposed to do. Let's select our test case, and let's get it started through the system, and let's tell everybody else, you better wait till the outcome. Because it's not just fines, folks. There's jail time associated with this. And I don't hear the tribe saying our officials are going to go serve that jail time if this test case goes badly. I just think that we need to approach this in a little more careful situation, because right now I think we've got a whole lot of people out here in the 14 counties that thinks, hey, we can go hunt now and do anything we want as long as we've got our blue card. They're not going to do anything to us, and that's just not what's going to happen.
well, it's not.
We know it's not what's going to happen, but I don't think they realize it. Because I think that, like a lot of people, they only hear what they want to hear, and right now they think they can hunt, they think they can fish, and they don't think they have to have a license in the state of Oklahoma. They think they have to have their blue card.
Okay, well, again, we've done our best as up to this point, as much as we know how to get the public notification out. And again, we got well over 100 telephone calls when those cards went out. So people are hearing, like you said, what they want to hear, because they called to ask questions that are in direct conflict of what's on the card. Can we this? No. The card says this. So again, if people go out and hunt out of season or kill more or catch more than what the legal bag limit is, then they're making an irresponsible decision. So,
That's not the case, then we're going to take.
no. If they're breaking the law and not going with what the code says, that's obviously not a case we're going to defend.
And I don't know what everybody else on the council did, but I got a stack of those cards and I did not send them out. I did not feel comfortable with sending them out.
Well, then they're maybe going off of word of mouth from what someone else has told them versus what factual information is on it.
Now, I don't know where they're getting the cards in Cherokee County, because I didn't send them out. I don't know if Mr. Baker.
Well, I think one went out to every person that received the Phoenix. It went out in the mail. So every person that receives the Phoenix got one. And it was an insert in the Phoenix.
Councilman Show?
No.
Councilman Hoskins?
Was Councilor Jordan making a motion that we direct Chief Smith to go deer hunting?
I don't know if he's a hunter or not.
I'll withhold my second. Makes that motion.
Thank you. Mr. Thornton?
I've gotten a few calls, a few people ask me. The main thing that I tell them is they need to be on tribal land before they fish and hunt, and they follow the state regulations.
Yes.
But if you need someone to test the waters on fishing, I'll test them on the Illinois River if you want to.
Okay. You know, I mean, we've kind of joked about it and said, which I've always thought we always had fishing rights on the Illinois River. Anyway.
Well, I know the Arkansas River that the Fish and Game will not issue a ticket to a blue card holder.
Yeah, I think it's the same way.
They've
for the
been
Illinois
tested
River.
several times in my country, and they will not do it. But the Illinois River has never been tested, as far as I know.
Councilman
But go
Britton?
fishing.
Huh?
Go fishing.
Well, just call me more than I'll make it out there. And I'll
You
finish.
call me and tell me when you're finished.
I know a few of them, but I'll leave about there.
Councilman Creighton?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Angela, I think this is, I mean, it's got all the information on this card, but it's kind of like, you know, the cigarette pack or the Skoal can, or like our advertising or our gaming. It's, this guy won this and that guy won that, 2 motorcycles and a bunch of heavy-duty whatever. And way down at the bottom, there's a little blip on there about if you got problems with gambling, call this number or whatever, maybe if you can find it. When they read these first 3 or 4 lines on this, or little paragraph sentences or whatever on this card, they didn't get down to the warning. They probably didn't digest that. Maybe that could
You
have been
think that
put-
should have been at top?
Well, you know what I'm saying, or in a different color, or something that, you know, popped them right here somewhere. Because it says at the bottom pretty much what this response says from the state. But I think they're wanting to do it, and they feel in here that they should be able to do it already. And then on the front it says, yes, you can hunt and fish using your tribal citizenship card. Does the Cherokee Nation have a code for managing wildlife? Yes. On and on and on, and they just think they can do it, you know. And I think some of them think that since they can do it with that blue card, that maybe some of the limits and all of that may not even apply either. So I think some of them just get deeper and deeper into the mess, you know.
Okay. Well,
I mean, that's my
we
thought.
may need to do some sort of another public service announcement, because I agree, deer season's one of the biggest hunting seasons around here, and we're probably going to have a plethora of test cases. I don't disagree with that. So, again, I'll address that with administration and visit with the Attorney General and find out what our exact game plan is going to be when we have numerous test cases.
Okay, thank you, Sheriff.
So you have any little suggestions that the hunters may use?
Well, again, the thing that, if I were the one out there hunting, I would hunt on tribal land. I would have copies of my blue card with me. And one of the things, that's unclear, somebody brought up the comment that on that piece of document right there, it doesn't say whether or not you have to present your blue card or you just have to have it on you. I would present my blue card if a game ranger was to come up while I was on tribal land. And again, it is our standing that if you kill a deer on tribal land, that the only thing you have to do as far as tagging purposes is attach a copy of your blue card to that animal for your transportation from there to home. So those are the things that I would do. I would make sure if I was out hunting and I was not hunting within season or not getting proper bag limits, that I would be prepared that there's a great chance that I'm going to get ticketed whether I'm on tribal land or not on tribal land, even though I'm a citizen. It says you have to be abiding by the code, which mimics the state's seasons and bag limits.
Before they take your gun, you might pull out your lifetime hunting and fishing license.
Yeah, exactly. Because they can impound your vehicle, your firearm, and
don't take your best gun with you.
Do we have more questions for Angela? Thank you, ma'am.
you're welcome. And I'll send you notes on the responses that I get as far as what we're going to do if we get numerous test cases.
Real Estate Services, Linda Dawson.
Good afternoon. I believe you've had my report in your packet. We are having a piece of old business coming up, and I've asked Kara if she would just withdraw that until we have time to finish ironing out that situation on the Landmark lease.
Yes, sir.
Can you explain to me about the Bureau of Land Management and the surveys and why we can't do nothing about these trespassing issues and how far they're out on the surveys years-wise?
They are several years out on a lot of it, and a lot of times it takes more than a year to get the survey back even after the BLM has done it, because a lot of times when they go out to these, they'll go out and they do a 640-acre tract is what they start out with, narrowing it down to your 10-acre or however many acres it is. And they take that once it's finished with all their notes, and they send it up to Albuquerque, who then go over it to approve whether or not that was appropriate. And then it goes up to Denver to their engineering people, who also go over it, and then it comes back down to the regional office, who then decide when they're going to send us a copy. So it takes a while for these to go around to get the BLM surveys done. One of the reasons why they started a program called CFEDS, Certified Surveyors for Independent People to take a course to become certified, was because they were seeing that there's a need for these BLM surveys and so to have it on a federal type level, they were teaching them regular surveyors how to do it, so that they could then have other people be able to go out and do them, but you have to pay for those. The BLM surveyors they have to do it for us for free, but you have to also be selected. And so they only select so many at a time. We actually got selected to do 2 this year. We were selected to do 6 last year. And we still haven't seen the results on those. So it's just that however many they select on the basis of how they feel the BIA or the BLM people feel as to what one makes their category list. So it takes a while.
Mr. Aaron? Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Linda, could you give us a report on where we're at on the Ramona property? Information at all from CNE?
We have, back in August of last year, that lease went up to the BIA for approval. They sent it after they reviewed the documents, made sure the environmental was what they wanted. They then sent it up to central office in Washington, D.C., which is the approval process for a casino lease. And they did, a couple of months ago, send down and asked for to re-verify that those people are restricted Indians. And we did send back the verification on that part. But since then, we've not heard. And of course, there's been some activity up in D.C. that have adverse effects on us in some ways, and it makes them put our stuff back a little bit while they're waiting. And we're hoping that this will be cleared up soon, and they'll get back on our stuff. Because we have not only that, but we have our Sequoia High School transfer that we're waiting on, and we have that Paramore issue that we're waiting on, and so we're trying to get all of these pushed through the BIA office there.
Thank you.
Okay.
Linda, back on these trespass cases, did we contract the function from the Bureau of Indian Affairs on the trust responsibility to people owning restricted land?
Yes, we did.
Okay. And have some of these been going on for a number of years?
Some have.
And what is the consequence if we go for, say, 15 years and we don't do something about the trespass cases? What could be the possibility, what could happen to those folks?
It could actually ripen into an adverse possession case where they could take the property.
And would those people, and this may be, I'm just jumping here ahead a little bit and trying to think of where we are in the responsibility portion of it. If we don't do something about giving you enough money to do some surveys, could we be setting ourselves up, since it's a contracted function, for some sort of lawsuit that we failed to take care of the trust responsibility that was contracted to us?
That's a possibility. I'm not too sure on the legalities of that, because for the most part, when we come across something like that, we try to report those to the Bureau. We ask for the surveys. Even if we don't get that, and we believe that it is still a problem, we report it to the solicitor's office to try to get that thing in motion.
Would it be possible for you within the next month or two to work up a cost estimate of the amount of money you might need to do this surveying on an emergency basis, to bring you up to date on those cases that are known by your office, that in order for you to proceed forward, you must have a survey to start with? Could you work us up a cost estimate on that?
Yeah, I'll work on that.
Okay.
Okay.
Any more questions, Linda? Yes, sir.
Lyndon, we may have talked about this before, but does your office presently have an accounting or accountability of all the restricted land that Indian people own?
That is always a difficult situation, because the restricted Indian lands change a lot, because once a probate is done, then you lose restricted status on land.
And you know, that troubles me, that we're losing all the restricted land that's out there that belong to individual Indians, and we don't have a way of tracking it. And I know what you said, when you don't have a mechanism to track it. I guess the only way you could track it is get those individuals' names and say, hey, if you ever want to sell this property, we'd like to have first bid on the thing. Which goes back to Angie buying property. I'd like to keep those things in restricted status, from now on. If you look at the maps, in the last 10 years of restricted land, there's been acres after acres that's been lost and sold and no longer restricted status.
Right. And a lot of times we don't know that it's going up for sale until we get a deed approval request where they have somebody already purchasing it before we
Yeah,
get
and that's what I'm
notice.
saying. If we had the names of those property owners, why not write them a letter and say, we'd like to have first option because we would like to keep this land in restricted status. You know, I don't think we're doing that at all. We're not proactive on keeping land and restrictions for any Indians, as far as I know.
Angela, do you have a comment?
Well, because what I was going to ask or add was that I know that before it is sold, it has to come through the real estate services office, but I guess at the point that it reaches us, Linda, sometimes it's already too late.
It's already being sold by someone else, by someone
And the thing
else.
that happens, these people see the Indians that got the restricted land, they'll go in and offer them a price that's probably not what the land is worth, and they want to take and get the money. If we had the option of buying that property, I just think a lot of Indian people would sell it to the tribe before they would sell it to a non-Indian, because it means a lot to have a piece of land in restrictions. So anyway, think about it. If it's something we can do, I'd certainly like to see either legislation passed or policy made that we try to keep those lands in restriction. I know it's going to cause a lot of work, but you know, we can find somebody to identify all those lands and get the letters out. I think it'd be helpful.
But you do have to realize, Hardy, that once the tribe buys the restricted lands, it loses its restricted status. And the reason that happens is because 5 civilized tribe, restricted land is tied to blood degree. It's tied to blood degree.
And so could that be put back in trust? Could it go
Right.
directly
Then
into
it would
trust?
have to be changed over to a trust
Well, I would
status.
certainly rather have it in trust as to lose the restrictions of the
Right.
status. Anyway, that's just comments we like to think about, because we have lost acres and acres. Washington County probably has only 3 parcels of land that's restricted Indian land. There used to be acres and acres up there.
Right.
25 years ago, you could see it. Now, if you look at the maps, there's probably 3 parcels up there that are restricted, so we're losing land.
Next is your comment.
Linda, is it somewhat accurate that we have to ensure, or we're watching out for the best interest of our restricted landowners, that they are getting fair market value, and if the buyer is not offering that, would that not be an opportunity for us to then, if the buyer is not willing to pay fair market value, that's when we can come into the process?
That would be a possibility. In fact, our office does run the appraisals for those opportunities, and there was one instance where the party was not paying the appraised value, but once they heard what the appraised value was, they came up on their value.
Councilman Fisher.
I was wanting to ask you about a case that we had that was turned over to the solicitor. It was on the logging in Adair County.
Yes.
What's been going on? I haven't heard nothing from y'all.
The solicitor said that it had to go back to the BIA first,
Mhm.
and then the BIA had to recommend what they wanted the solicitor to do. And so right now, that is still sitting at the BIA's office for them to make their determination on it.
Did you call them or ask them to move a little faster? The lady's dead now.
But we check on it periodically, but that's where it is right now.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Ward.
Just a comment, and adding to what Harley has brought up, you get every one of the deed approvals. And even though the land may have been, you may have a willing buyer with a willing seller, you as a tribe could come in as a higher bidder if we desired that land, and the court's going to have to approve whoever has the highest bid, unless there's a compelling reason to not take that higher bid, such as we're selling to a family member and we want to keep it in the family.
Right.
Then the court may take that next highest bid or the bid from the family member, because this is what the seller wants. But we could have each one of those checked by the realty office, and even though we have no automatic first right to buy, we really do if we want to be the highest bidder in each one of those cases. So if we wanted to buy some of that land, we could buy it if it was the desire of the chief and the tribe to do that. It will go in fee simple inventory. It will lose its restrictions, but it could be flipped over to trust at some future date. We can make a trust application.
That's right.
So the lady you're talking to right here gets all of the notices for all of the deed approvals. I know because I do deed approvals, and I have to send the notice eventually comes to her to do the appraisal.
That's right. It goes to the BIA and then they send it down to us.
And just because someone, let's say we're selling 30 acres for $10,000, if it's appraised by her office at $30,000, that sale can't go through unless those people are going to raise up to the appraisal price. And it also has to be the best bid. If somebody wants to come to court and offer a higher bid, the tribe could do that if they desired to do so, and they could own that property.
That's correct.
So if it was the will of this body that we know about each one of those deed approvals, Linda Donaldson could give that information to you on a monthly basis. Is that not correct, Linda?
Yes, I can.
Councilman Brayton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Linda, just going along with what Connie was saying, I bought some restricted land one time some years ago. It was 30 acres. We had to run an ad in the paper. We had to bring the BIA into the mix, and and at a given point in time, it went before the judge in Adair County with the blessings of the BIA to remove the restrictions. And at that point, as she mentioned a while ago, anybody in the house could have bid on that piece of property. I was the one wanting it, but I mean, there could have been, the tribes could have been there, or whomever, and the highest bidder would have actually been approved for the deed. And then I guess it would have to come to your office for approval or whatever, but there is a way to tie this all together, and I've done it. I mean, I went through that, so I know what kind of saying.
Now, if you want to know that information, I can get that for you. Right now, we have one approval going through, but it's only for an easement. The guy forgot to get an easement from his mother at the time he got the acre from her.
Yeah.
Councilman Hoskins.
Thank you. A few Congresses ago, there was the 5 Civilized Tribe Land Reform Act, and I think it was to make some adjustment to the blood quantum provision you referenced earlier. Do you know if that's pending in Congress now? Have you heard anything about it?
No, it is sitting idle at this time. A few months ago, I was at a meeting where some of the other tribal leaders was at, and they were bringing up that they thought maybe it was about time to bring that thing up again and have it sent back to Congress. With it being a new administration over there, they're hoping that maybe this would be a better time to come back up with the revised 47 Act to ask for that to be revised again. That the Cherokees and the other 4 tribes not have the blood restriction.
I'm sure our Washington office is on top of that and alert us if that was coming up.
Right, they should let us know if it comes back through.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions for Linda? Thank you, Linda. Councilman Cobb, you had a question while ago, and I missed it.
That's all right. That's okay. Thank you. Appreciate it. Angela answered it before I asked it.
Environmental Programs, Tom Elkins.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. You have our report, so I won't go over too much on it. Just to say that, what was I going to say? Oh, Councilman Buzzard and I spoke about this a little bit earlier about the Saline Courthouse. If you haven't been up there lately, if you got a few minutes to go by there, even if you can just drive by and look at the outside, you might. That lead-based paint project is winding up right now. I think they're going to paint the outside of it this week and finish that up, but it was a totally different building. They went through there and just took almost every speck of paint off of that, inside and out. They went through, and they used pecan hulls to take that off, and it was really a cool project. I mean, every bit of that house, that building, was encapsulated with visqueen, and they picked up every piece of that. But it was really cool. I went up there when all the paint was off, and then they went back and all the boards, some of those boards, the integrity of them were just really bad. They were rotted. And they went back through and kind of milled that wood, that oak, to match that wood, that period wood. They redid all the glass. It's not in there right now, but it will be. And the glass to put back in it was, I don't know if you've ever seen an older glass like that is, glass is an amorphous semi-solid in that it runs down. And older glass gets thicker at the bottom than it is at the top because it moves. And some of that glass was like that, and they took glass from that period and redid that. Looks really cool. But that's, I'm sorry?
Angela's got a comment.
While you're on the Lane Courthouse, I also wanted to add that the only thing that's left before we complete the spring house is they are in the process of constructing the Dutch door that's going to go on it, and then that project will be complete as well. And if you haven't been up there, besides to see the paint, the abatement, the dam and the holding pond that they built for the spring house,
the wading pool,
beautiful, beautiful. So you need to go.
It's really cool. That spring house is excellent. It's finished. It's really nice. The last thing on my report, I tried to get something printed out here earlier, and it just wouldn't print out correctly. I had given you a report, I think 2 meetings ago, what we had done or what we had proposed doing with the Department of Energy money, the CDG, Energy Efficiency Community Block Grant money. The nation received $3.2 million, and I gave you a list of proposed projects that we were looking at. It came back that 2 of those projects couldn't be done, and what those were buying equipment for the compressed natural gas facilities. So what we looked at was doing another compressed natural gas site at Roland, where we have a fueling facility, building one of those actually, still having this one at the outpost. And then we looked at some building retrofits that we could fit into that same amount of money. We came out with 10 total projects. We had 5 to begin with. We had to pull 2 of those off. And for the money for those other 2, we came out with 5 other ones. So I would have given you that list. I can email it to you, or I can bring it next time. But I think they're going to be good projects.
Dr. Cobb.
There, on that compressed natural gas, there was some discussion on that among C&B board members. Is there communication between specifically compressed natural gas? I mean, have y'all?
We're looking at siting it at Outpost 1, one of them. And if you'll go by there, we're one of those canopies on the far west side where there's no gas pump. That looks like where that's going to go.
That's what I want to know. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Council Advisor.
Tom, back to Dr. Cobb's question. What's the anticipation of people using that compressed gas? How many people do you think that we'll cater to, and then how long do you think it'll get up to the work maybe even make some profit?
I don't know if it's so much a profit as it is our emission savings. I look at, I went to the Sovereignty Symposium, I think it was in June, first part of June. I go about every year. It's a bunch of lawyers, even though I'm not an attorney. But I go about every year, and a bunch of lawyers. But T. Boone Pickens gave a talk there. When it was over, I told Miss Knight, I said I could have given that same talk. Because I have been preaching that we need to go as a nation, the United States, the Cherokee Nation, to compress natural gas for years. We have the infrastructure for it. The whole United States has natural gas for the most part. There's some pockets that don't. But almost every part of the United States has compressed natural gas. The facilities to use that is available. The technology's here right now. Other technologies may well be better. I mean, you might be able to use hydrogen, but the infrastructure to do that is way far away. And we go through and we get new GSA vehicle leases all the time. We can get those now. We can, when we replace our lawnmowers, we can buy those now. When we buy new buses, we can buy those now. They cost a little bit more, but the savings we get, the emission savings is spectacular. it's just off the map.
And that was one of my questions about the GSA vehicles. I know I guess we can get them through GSA.
We can, and the ones that we buy, we can buy dual fuel vehicles. The ones that we lease, we can lease those. There's a lot of different ways we can use that.
And I have another question on the, when will the funds be available to renovate or redo the Kenwood water system there? When are those funds going to?
That should be real soon. That's this year's money, so we'll probably get it before October and start working on that real soon. It's over $300,000.
Thank you.
Any more questions, Tom?
I'm sorry, and that's not stimulus money, that's regular money. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Moving on down to old business, no new business, no old business. Make a motion to amend the agenda to add resolution for the environmental program and move it on the full council tonight. I hear a motion.
So moved.
Second. I hear discussion. Jack? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? First resolution is authorized recognition to release trust land to the landmark outdoor advertising. Bill John Baker.
Mr. All, Bill, make a motion right here.
Resolution number 2 is Mr. Alkins.
So is this
This is
the one that you just added?
right.
Yes, sir. This is a grant for the EPA. It was something that, and I know I do this almost every month, and then I say that our time frame is like this, but it's amazing to me that they'll come out with end of the year money and say, we have money. Is this something that you want to apply for? And well, there is money that we say no, thank you. I mean, and I keep reiterating to our program, the EPA does not run our program. If EPA funds fit what we wish to do, and that fits in with what our, we're strategically aligned with, that's fine. That's what we want to do. If it doesn't, we don't. And there's a lot of money out there that we just want to apply for. But this looks like something that would really work well for us, an indoor air program that would complement what we already do. And it's $500,000 for 4 years, over 4 years.
Move for the approval. Second. All in favor?
Aye. And there's no match. Thank you.
Move on down to letter announcements. Announcements, need a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Aye. All in favor?
Aye. Thank you.